Hello, my friends. Reverend Judith Laxer here from Gaia's Temple. We just finished our Letha. Well, about an hour ago, we finished the Letha celebration out in my garden, and I've come inside and decided that I wanted to create another little message that will go out on Father's Day tomorrow at noon. But I'm feeling the magic from the celebration that we did, and I want to kind of ride this wave of the love light of the sun as I come to you with a bit of a message and a blessing. And so, as I mentioned during the celebration, typically in Gaia's Temple in May, we meet on actual Mother's Day. And so we celebrate the women on Mother's Day. And then in the June service, even though we meet on the second Sunday, and Father's Day is always on the third Sunday. Usually in June, we celebrate Father's Day. But we didn't get to do that this year. I talked about a sun goddess instead of the sun king. And so I felt it was necessary for me to come through to you on Father's Day, which I get to do now that we have this YouTube channel. All kinds of possibilities have happened because of virtual everything these days. So I wanted to come and to acknowledge the beautiful men that are, first of all, in our congregation, members of the Gaia's Temple community. But any one of you, whether this is your first time watching one of our YouTubes or tuning into Gaia's Temple in any way, if you've just been listening to the podcast, or perhaps you've come to the Sabbath celebrations, but you haven't actually come to a worship service, one way or another, if you are watching this now and are of the male persuasion, I want to welcome you. Thank you for showing up. I want to acknowledge you and give you my love and blessings for the man that you are. And I guess I want to say this, it's been hard to be a woman for a very long time. We can look at the way the world has been and see that it's been rather out of balance with regard to the sexes for a long time. And we all know that it's a man's world, and men are at the top of the food chain, and white men are particularly at the top of that food chain. And we are examining all of that now. All of these shifts and changes are taking place, which is a really good and necessary thing. I also know that we have access in our era, especially this last several generations, to resources and information about our hearts, about our souls, about our psyche, therapeutic modalities, psychological understanding that generations and generations before us did not have. Generations before us were just basically surviving, getting through the best they can, emulating the elders who came before them, and any of the wounds that have taken place, that's just kind of passed down the pike from generation to generation without the level of awareness and conscious awareness that we have, and these resources that I mentioned. We certainly made progress, but we've mostly just been continuing on and passing the sort of traumas and wounds down generation after generation after generation. And now we find ourselves in a place where we are able to truly shift our consciousness, truly shift our behaviors, and try to do things differently, which I think is also beautiful and necessary. It's also really difficult. It's difficult during the best of times. It's certainly different during the difficult times. And so for the longest time, it's probably been pretty easy to be at the top of the food chain as a man. And now, with the way things are changing, it's not so easy. And all of us are really having to take a look at our privilege and our privilege, how we've had it easy. Even when things have been difficult, we've still had it easy. And so, with the rise in feminism, with the rise of seeking justice for people of color and the whole Black Lives Matter movement, men are having to really, well, all of us are taking a look at that. But this is Father's Day, and I'm talking about the men. I'm talking to you fellas out there. So I want to talk about what I think is probably very difficult for you, which is examining your privilege and how you have been in the position of power for a very long time. And nobody wants to give up their power, and nobody wants to give up their privilege or anything that makes life easier because life is tough. Life can be very tough, as we all know. So I want to acknowledge all of you beautiful men who are doing this difficult work. And on Father's Day, whether you have biological children or not, I think every man is a father or can be fatherly. And when we look at the archetype of father in its most exalted, we would find a character who is protective, caring, a provider in any way that he can be. And that provision is not only bringing home the bread and putting it on the table. Obviously, that's not the only thing. But that provision can also be for emotional presence, for encouragement, for guidance. These are the beautiful things about fathers. And I believe that every man is a father, like I said, whether he has biological children or not. So I want to acknowledge that this is a difficult time for all of us, and particularly for men, because their position in our culture is being challenged. And it's challenging to be challenged. But the men who are watching this, I believe, are the men who are wanting to see the changes in the world that need to be for equality and justice. I think the men who are probably watching this now are the ones who are tired of trying to pretend to be something that they're not. Tough, strong, able to take it, competitive, good old boy, a man's man, afraid, not wanting to be emasculated. You're probably tired of all that. You're probably tired of having to hold in your emotions when you feel them, of feeling either sheepish or uncertain or worried about showing your tenderness. All of those things. Um, I can imagine how tiring that must be to not truly be your authentic human self because culture tells you that you will be perceived as weak or less than if you do. And I want to encourage the beautiful men who are watching this to toss those societal expectations into the compost pile and let them become the fertile soil for something else wonderful that can grow. And in doing that, I would ask that you be the father that you wanted or needed when you were a young boy, that you be the grandfather that you wish you had, a wise elder who is patient and present, that you be the uncle and the brother and the husband and the lover that you wish you had. Someone who is present, there for you, willing to listen, able to give selflessly. That would be my request or my plea, that in stepping into and living out any of these roles that are either designated to you or that you have chosen, that you don't just continue the behavior that went before you in generations prior. I believe that we really are, or this generation can heal the wounds of our ancestors and do things differently. So be that man, be that good man, that loyal man, that loving man. You probably already are. But in case there's a part of you that still has a little work to do, that would be the ideal to shoot for. And what I can tell you is that as you do that, the more you do that, the better your life will be, the more you will find the reciprocity in your relationships and your needs will be met. And the soul satisfaction of knowing that you are there to help others and to be there for others is far more satisfying than just angling to get your needs met and doing whatever you can to maintain your position of power. I can pretty much guarantee that that will be true. So that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to request. And here is the blessing that I would like to give to all of you beautiful men, that you shine like the light that you are, that you open your loving hearts and receive the love and give the love that is so big, so strong, so radiant. It's not a surprise to me that the summer solstice and Father's Day are right around the same time and often fall on the same day, or at least the same weekend like this year. May that light that you are shine strong and radiate brightly. May that light reach everywhere, into all the shadowed places and all the corners where light is needed. And in shining your light, may you receive the blessings, gratitude, and deep satisfaction from those whom you serve and who will come to serve you. May the equality and justice so desperately needed in this world be part of your mission. May you act in accordance with that mission, because that truly is for the highest good of all. And as we know, and as we are learning, we are all deeply connected, despite and probably because of our differences. So, as that beautiful thing is what you give, so that beautiful thing is what you receive, because we are just that deeply connected. So, happy Father's Day, all you beautiful men who are fathering your children and grandfathering your grandchildren and uncling your uncles and brothering your siblings. May you be at your best. May you feel strong. May you be loved. May you know how greatly you are loved and appreciated. And happy Father's Day. Thanks so much for listening. Blessed be.